the Epiphany. I know last Sunday was the first Sunday of the new year, but for me the new year doesn't seem to quite begin until we've celebrated Epiphany. But Epiphany, of course, isn't a New Year's celebration, it's part of Christmas. And Epiphany is really important, and yet it seems to have been forgotten by the society around us. Today, we remember one of the most rich and mysterious parts of the Christmas celebrations. For me, Epiphany is full of awe and wonder and excitement. We meet the enigmatic and exotic Magi who have travelled from the wondrous and unknown East. We try to imagine them travelling, trains of camels, bedecked in clothing of beauty and splendour, and that treasure that they bring, their rare and costly gifts. This part of the story is so loved and so treasured and so alive in the minds of those who received it over the centuries. And yet sadly it seems to belong in a Christmas carol on Christmas Eve. And then it gets packed away with the Christmas tree and stuffed in the loft for another year. By many, but not by us. So we started singing John Henry Roberts' famous Christmas carol, We Three Kings. I don't want to quite take you to his words. I want to take you further back for now, to St Matthew's words. If you look at the original text, the original Greek, you will find St Matthew talks of an unspecified number of people, even if our translation says men. We know that they are wise. The word magi and the word magic are very close to each other. These are sorcerers, these are scholars, these are people who we don't know much about. They probably weren't royalty at all. Matthew doesn't mention any mysterious names. There's no Balthazar or Caspar, or there's no special meanings as far as Matthew is concerned for the gifts. All of these rather curious things were added some hundreds of years later, probably by John Henry Roberts, who wrote We Three Kings of Orient Are in the 1800s. So for me, Epiphany is about mystery. And I don't want centuries of church tradition, or even a hymn writer from the 1800s, explaining it away. We sang, Born a king, gold I bring to crown him again. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns a deity nigh. Myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume, it breathes a life of gathering gloom, sealed in a stone-cold tomb. They're wonderful ideas, and perhaps as John Roberts was writing that hymn, he came up with some things that really helped him understand what this Epiphany was all about. But let me suggest some other ideas beyond those of tradition and culture. One idea may be that these wise women or men may have been laying down the substances used in their divinations. As I said, the word magi and the word magic are so very close. Gold, frankincense and myrrh. Perhaps their tools, the things that they used daily as they tried to understand, as they tried to see the future, as they tried to see what was going to happen. Perhaps they surrender them to Jesus Christ. Perhaps they are surrendering their life's work, their system of belief, their sacred tools to the lordship of Jesus. And why? Because their divination had brought them through darkness and uncertainty, but it brought them face to face with the Son of God. Perhaps there was no longer any need of dark divination, and they could surrender that part of their lives, their very tools of the trade, as it were, in the worship of their Lord and Saviour. Perhaps. Or perhaps we could have another take on it. St. Bruno, who was an 11th century Italian Benedictine abbot, please don't confuse him with the patron saint of tobacconists, said, "Thus we offer the Lord gold when we shine in his sight with the heavenly wisdom. We offer him frankincense when we send up a pure prayer before him. We offer myrrh when by our own self-control we carry his cross for him. As I said, St. Matthew tells the tale without comment, without explanation. And we find the church fathers and the early Christian theologians didn't add much either. It was only in the mid-1800s we got stuck in the We Three Kings rut. So this morning I want to present to you my gold, frankincense and myrrh. My simple theology is that they gave the best they had to offer. And I would propose that this morning the Magi were laying down their all, perhaps their life work, perhaps their achievements, to the Lordship of Jesus Christ. We have also just sung Christina Rossetti's beloved Christmas carol in the bleak midwinter, which finishes with the words, "What can I give him, poor as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would do my part. Yet what can I give him? I give him my heart." We need to follow the example of the Magi. On this Epiphany Sunday, as we go into this new year, 2022, with all our hopes and dreams and our prayers, we must give of ourselves, give of our life's work, give of everything we have. The message this morning on the Feast of the Epiphany is that you do not need to be a king. You do not need to be a fabled wise person from the East, or even a shepherd or the mother of Christ. You need to be you. You don't need a pre-selected gift with a special meaning. You need to bring what you have. Jesus wants you, and he wants what you have to bring. As we step into 2022 with all its unknowns and all of its difficulties that we know we will experience, but all of its wonder and its joy, Jesus waits for you, for your gift, for you to bow down and adore him and lay it at his feet. The Magi, they sought Christ and they finally found him, and each left a different gift. Perhaps those gifts were personal to them. John Roberts might have been right in his hymn, We Three Kings, and he might not have been. It might have been something that was very special to them. This morning we have sought him too, and Jesus wants what is special to you and special to him. He waits for you to lay it at his feet at the beginning of 2022. I don't know whether you've made any New Year's resolutions, or whether you've kept them by now, as we're nearly a week in. But why not make another? Gold, frankincense and myrrh, what are they? Well, I suspect they've got as many meanings as there are people. But perhaps we find them in the words of our final hymn, which we will sing at the close of our service. O worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Bow down before him, his glory proclaim. With gold and obedience and incense of lowliness, kneel and adore him, for the Lord is his name. Let's make that all of our New Year's resolutions as we walk together into 2022. Amen.